Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into a topic that honestly sounds like it was ripped straight from a sci fi movie. We're talking about edible electronics. Yep, you heard that right.
So let me just ask you to picture this for a second. What if that pill you take every morning could do more than just deliver medicine? What if it could actually report back from inside your own body, telling doctors exactly what's going on? It is a wild idea for sure, but it's the incredible promise at the heart of this entire field.
Okay, so a gadget you can swallow. What are we really talking about here? Let's break it down.
The core of this whole thing is something called the digital pill. Now, this is a sensor that is unbelievably tiny. We're talking smaller than a single grain of sand. And it's made from materials that are totally safe to eat, things your body already needs, like copper and magnesium. Get this, when you swallow it, your own stomach fluids act like a battery, powering it up just long enough for it to send out a little signal.
This all sounds amazing, but you might be wondering why? Why do we even need electronics that we can eat? Well, to really get that, we need to take a step back and look at a massive problem our current gadgets are creating for all of us. Let's talk about waste. Every single year, the world throws away a mind-boggling 1.3 billion tons of food. That number is just staggering, and it shows why we desperately need smarter ways to track our food. But the problem of waste goes way beyond our dinner plates and straight to the tech in our pockets.
You know, our phones, our laptops, all the devices we rely on, they're creating these literal mountains of toxic electronic waste. They're built with materials that just never break down, and they're full of hazardous chemicals like lead and mercury that can seep into our soil and our water. So the point is, we have to find a new way to think about electronics, one that's sustainable and one that's safe.
So, how in the world do you build an electronic device that's safe enough to eat? Well, it helps if you stop thinking like an engineer and start thinking more like a chef. The official term for this is, you guessed it, edible electronics. And these are basically devices made from materials that your body can either use, like a nutrient, or just safely break down and get rid of. The whole point is they do their job and then they just disappear.
Now, this is where it gets really, really cool. You see, any basic circuit only needs three main parts. To carry the electric current, you need a conductor. For that, you can use edible gold leaf. Yeah, the same shiny stuff they put on super fancy desserts. To keep the current from leaking out, you need an insulator, and gelatin works perfectly. And to control the flow of that current, you need a semiconductor, which can be made from a common food dye. And the list of ingredients in this electronic pantry is just incredible. I mean, we're talking about gold, sure, but also breakfast spreads like Marmite, components that come from broccoli, material from shrimp shells, and even vitamins like riboflavin. It's a whole new world of electronics. All right, so we have the ingredients for an edible circuit. Now, what can we actually cook up with them? Turns out this technology really shines in two main areas: inside our bodies and out in the world around us. So inside the body, you can imagine these devices monitoring our gut health or making sure a drug gets delivered to the exact right spot. And then outside the body, they could be put right into food packaging to tell us if our food is still fresh or if it's been contaminated, which could help us cut down on all that food waste we were just talking about. So here's how that medical monitoring would work in four really simple steps. First, the patient just swallows the pill. Easy enough. Second, their own stomach acid activates that tiny sensor. Third, it sends a wireless signal to a little patch on their skin just to confirm, hey, the pill was taken. And finally, the best part, the sensor and all its parts just safely dissolve. And here's a brilliant way to picture the out-of-body potential. Just imagine a milk carton with a tiny edible sensor printed right on it. Instead of just guessing based on the expiration date, the sensor could actually detect the chemical signs that the milk is spoiling and change color, giving you a real-time, accurate signal of freshness. No more sniff test. So, this all sounds like a complete game changer, right? But what does the road ahead really look like? The future is definitely promising, but there are still a few hurdles to clear. Well, for starters, you have to get approval from big regulatory bodies like the FDA, and that's a huge step. Scientists also need to figure out how to make these things cheaply and on a massive scale. And of course, they have to work perfectly every single time inside the very complex environment of the human body. One really exciting challenge is actually figuring out how to make electronic parts from food waste itself, like fruit peels, which would create a truly sustainable cycle. But the vision here is just so powerful. I love this quote from the researchers in our source paper. They say this field is promising a future where electronic devices can be safely ingested for medical, diagnostic, and even nutritional purposes. It really leaves us with a fascinating thought, doesn't it? For decades, we've kind of seen technology and nature as being on opposite sides. But what if the next huge leap in sustainable tech isn't found in some high-tech lab, but is actually found on our own dinner plates? Something to think about.